Greetings everyone and welcome. Today in this video we are going to focus more on functional groups. Let's get to it. The first functional group that we all are aware of are the alkanes. We'll go into alkenes with the general formula as indicated here. Alkynes, alcohols, carboxylic acid, but these are the more general functional groups. And in this case, the alkenes are given by the suffix -ene. Alkynes, ine with a triple bond. Alcohols are given by the function OH. And just to add, OH sometimes is referred as hydroxy. And the ending suffix is OL. Aldehydes, if it's present of a group, it's called oxo. And the ending is AL. Ketones also, if it's used as a substituent, it's also referred to as oxo. But the ending as a parent chain should be ONE. Carboxylic acid, oic acid, esters, OH. So let's get to the real alkanes. For example, an alkane is a hydrocarbon that is made of carbon and hydrogen. And in this case, N is the number of carbon atoms. Assuming the alkane, we have seen the general formula is CN2N, CnH2n plus 2. So assuming you have 3 carbons, prop, so the name will be called propane as an example, and the formula will be C3H8. Go to another group. Alkanes also can be present in cyclic forms. Cycloalkanes, for example, depending on the number of carbon atoms in the cyclic structure, you can call it cyclopentane. If it was 6 carbon atoms, then this is cyclo-6, cyclohexane. Let's go to alkenes. Alkenes have a double bond. The ending is -ine, propene. The simplest alkene is just double bond, where this is 1, 2, and this is called ethene. We will see later when we're doing nomenclature. Alkynes are given by the presence of a triple bond, and the simplest alkyne also has, and this is called ethyne. Or propyne if it has 3, 1, 2, 3. Let's go to another functional group, alkyl halides. Alkyl halides are just alkanes where one hydrogen has been replaced by a halide, either chloro or bromo or fluoro. So these are called chloroethane if there are 2 carbons, or chloromethane, it's 1 carbon, chlorobutane is 4 carbon, and so forth. The next functional group that we're going to check is alcohols. So alcohols are identified by the presence of OL, and I said earlier, sometimes you'll find that the alcohol is a branch, it's a substituent. So in this case, if it's a substituent, it's also referred as hydroxy. For example, if you have 4 carbon atoms, you have but, so this is butanol. Thiols are almost the same as alcohols. The only difference is in alcohols you have O, in thiol you have an S. But in alcohol, they're called alcohols. When there's a sulfur group, we call thiol. So thioethane if it's 2 carbon, or ethanol if it's 2 carbon for alcohol. The next functional group are ethers. Ethers are any group of compounds where you have an oxygen and an alkyl group. This is carbon group and oxygen in between. So they're called ether. For example, in this case, you have this is CH3, this is CH3, and this is called dimethyl ether because there are 2 methyl groups. You can have it differently. You can have where this is a methyl group. Well, this is because it's 2 carbon, this is ethyl, so this is called ethyl methyl ether. We'll go into namings in the next video, but now we just want to show you the functional groups. We have other functional groups like aldehydes. Aldehydes are any group of compounds with this functional group, and it's usually terminal. Double bond, carbon double bond O, and a hydrogen. They are always terminal, so these are called aldehydes, and they always take priority number 1 because they're terminal. Ketones, on the other hand, they still have the same carbon double bond O, but they're internal. They're inside the chain. They can never be external. So when you name, for example, you have 5 carbon atoms, pent, so this is called pentanone. While if it was an aldehyde, it's called pentanal. Aldehyde, ketone. Carboxylic acid, on the other hand, is just the same. They have this compound, and they are all also number 1. They are terminal. So this is called pentanoic acid if it's 5 carbons. Pentanoic acid, So this one, the name ends with oic acid. Just to mention, this group C double bond O, C double bond O, C double bond O in carboxylic acid, aldehydes and ketones is referred to as a carbonyl group. It's also found in other functional groups we are going to see. Let's move forward. We have other functional groups like esters. Esters are derivatives of carboxylic acid, where you have this functional group, carbonyl group C double bond O, oxygen. So this was initially the carboxylic acid and they are reacted with, let's say, alcohol. So this is an ester. The ending also we'll see is called OH. So you name the portion that came from the alcohol and then you name the portion that came from carboxylic acid and you end with OH. For example, if you have an ester, in this case, this takes priority number 1, 2, 3. So longest chain has 3 carbons, prop. The branch here coming off from alcohol is 1, meth. So how you name this is methyl propanoate. Methyl propanoate. We will come to detailed naming in the next video. Let's go to the next functional group. Acyl chloride. Acyl chloride all have this functional group, a derivative of the carboxylic acid. We also, and their naming is, for example, this is 2 carbons, 1, 2, and the common name is acetyl chloride or acyl chloride. The other one is acid anhydride. Again, acid anhydride is another functional group, a derivative of carboxylic acid. And this one, a good example here, we have 2 carbons, it's called acetic anhydride, acetic anhydride. Last but not least, we have this functional group, these compounds that are cyclic and they are having 3 double bonds, and these are called aromatic groups, or in this case, this is called benzene. So these are aromatic or benzene ring. So if you have any substance, wherever it is, you just have to name this 1, 2 carbon, ethyl benzene. So this becomes ethyl benzene. So this is in general for all the functional groups that I could come across. So we still have an alkane, it's a saturated hydrocarbon, example propane with 3 carbons. Alkyl halides are derivatives of alkanes through substitution reaction. So we call them alkyl halides. An example is chloroethane. We have an alkene, which is a compound which is unsaturated with a double bond. We end with "-ine", so propene if it has 3 carbons. In alkynes, again, it has a triple bond with 3 carbons, so don't forget 1, 2, 3, -ine, propyne. Alcohols, presence of hydroxyl group, all ethanol. Aldehydes, the presence of a carbonyl group at the end, a terminal, al, ethanal if it has 2 carbons. Ketones is a carbonyl group in the middle, on, propanone, derivative of either alcohols, and you get them as dimethyl ether depending on what is attached on both sides of the alcohol, on the ethers. Then you have amine, amides, amine, esters you've already seen, carboxylic acid, aromatic. You have thiols, we have thioethers, cyclohexane, we have an example, this is a nitro group. Acyl chloride, we have seen, acid anhydride, and then this nitrile. So all these are the common functional groups that you might find in organic chemistry. Thank you for your time and kindly subscribe for more videos.